Welcome to our weekend wellness hour. Today we have a good friend of mine, recent new friend, but still a good friend, and I love having conversations with him. My friend Paul Hopfensperger, who has done something absolutely amazing. So you guys all know that I'm into endurance sports and I run 100 miles before in the trails and the mountains. Well, I've done a little bit of swimming, just a little bit. I did it in the Ironman, which is 2.4 miles. Okay, now I feel like a real wimp compared to this gentleman who swam across the English Channel, not once, but more than once. And so we're going to talk to Paul today. He has a huge, wide variety background. We're going to talk to him, one about his journey across the English Channel, what that looked like, the training, what happened. But also, more importantly, he went on a health journey because of his training didn't put him in the best of health in certain ways. And so he went on this discovery to find a new way of wellness, a new way of a diet, and it led to him to discover something called a blood type diet. So he's going to share with us all about that. But let me tell you just a tiny bit more about him. So he's the deputy mayor of a town in England called Bury St. Edmunds near Cambridge. He's a CEO of the Body and Mind Studio International. He's also a naturopathic health coach and just recently became a certified John Maxwell team member and a master of the Institute of Human Individuality, plus a whole bunch of other things. And I know he has an engineering background as well. So Paul, thank you so much for coming on today. We're really happy to have you.
Absolute pleasure, Amy. Looking forward to it.
Wonderful. So why don't you tell us a little bit kind of your story and what led up to your decision to do this crazy swim across the English Channel?
Right. Okay. Well, I was, as you said, I trained as a mechanical engineer originally, and I was a design engineer until 1989. But what actually happened was in 1987, I came home from work one day, and there was a guy talking to my neighbor. And you probably remember them from years back. There was a car there, and on the side of it, I tried not to look, but he had this badge on the back saying Herbalife, and he said, "Lose weight now, ask me how." And it was this big sticker on his car, and I just being polite asked him, hello, what's your name? He said, "My name's Colin," and he told me what he did, and I said, "Well, what exactly do you do?" And that was it. His goal was to recruit me into his business, and so he got me sort of excited and enthusiastic about the potential to earn money. I mean, I wasn't interested in nutrition or anything at the time, and I was an engineer, but he got me excited about this idea, and he recruited me into his Herbalife business. And in my first month in the business, this was in 1987. In my first month, I sold over $12,000 worth of product, and I hadn't got a clue what I was doing. But I was like a babbling idiot, you got to get on this stuff, it's got to get on this stuff, and it was just crazy. But the key was that I started using the products because they told me I had to use the products. And having got on these products, he also said to me, "You got to listen to this tape." And he gave me a tape by a guy called Larry Thompson. You probably know Larry Thompson. And it was Larry Thompson's Millionaire training tapes. So there I was as an engineer going off, and I was having these shakes and these vitamins, and I was telling everyone, "You got to get on this stuff." And when I used to get in the car in the morning, I used to have this tape on, and that tape introduced me to some stuff which I'd never ever heard of before. It was never taught in my formal education in either school or at college, university, nothing. And it used to say things like, "For things to change, you've got to change. For things to get better, you've got to get better." So my body was getting this good nutrition from Herbalife, and my mind was getting this different type of training from Larry Thompson's training tapes. And so yeah, I got into this big time, and in June 1987, I qualified for this big event in Chicago, and flew off to America. Never been to America before. Age 24, flew to America. And the most incredible thing was that the guy who started the company, you may well know this, was the incredible Mr. Mark Hughes. And I walked into this hotel, and I pressed the button for the lift at the time, and then in walks Mark Hughes and stands beside me next to the lift. And I was like, wow, Mark Hughes. And then I walked along the corridor and I met this guy, Larry Thompson, who'd actually, the Millionaire training tapes. And I thought, he's real. I thought that, yeah, because when you hear this stuff, you think it's, you don't know what it is. But there he was, that Larry Thompson. And I met Larry Thompson. And then I went into this room and met Jim Rohn. And so we got Mark Hughes, Larry Thompson, Jim Rohn. Yeah, and these people, they changed my life, So over the next few years, I decided to do, I'd always been a swimmer, 100 meters freestyle. I was a county champion, county record holder, always swimming. But I was sitting there one night, and my wife was actually the mayor of the town. You mentioned I'm deputy mayor now. She was the mayor, and I said to her, I need to do some money to raise money for charity. Do something to raise money for charity for your position as deputy mayor, as mayor, because that's what we do over here. And I saw this guy on television who you may know, called David Walliams. You may not. He's a famous British comedian, and but he was on there, and he swam the channel. And I was upstairs in this room where I'm sitting now, and my wife was cooking some tea, and I came downstairs and I said, I'm going to swim the I'm going to swim the channel. And she said, right, okay, your tea's ready. She said, and I said, no, I'm going to swim the channel. I said, because it's something I'd always wanted to do. And so she couldn't believe it. So we had this conversation, and over the next sort of 8, 9, 10 months, I trained to swim the channel. And, that's a whole story on its own. But the important thing, I was using Herbalife to train with, my Formula One shakes, and all this nutrition. But I also had to put on weight. So to put on weight, you have to put on weight because you're in the English Channel for it could be anything from around about 10 hours to about 20 hours. The record for the slowest swim, 25 hours to get across. That's the record, and so it could be anything on there depending on how fast you swim and how cold it is and the conditions on the day, so you have to prepare for that. So I had to put on weight. And so what I was doing in particular, I was drinking Guinness, which you may have heard of, to try and put on weight. And also I was eating lots of steak and pasta. Yeah. Now, important for later on, steak is red meat, obviously. Pasta contains wheat. And those, they helped me put on this weight, but it started to cause me health problems. Yeah. So, do you want to carry on with the channel bit, or?
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the channel, because we have to talk a little bit more about that. So tell us, so what was your training like? What do you wear? What type of wetsuit do you wear? What was the experience? Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go on with your health journey.
Okay. In English Channel swimming circles, we don't actually talk about wetsuits because you're not allowed to wear one. No, it's a very blasphemous word. we wear a pair of Speedos, hat and goggles. Finished like that. So to actually train for something like that, to spend that amount of time in the channel, the first time I did a really cold swim, if you imagine, I was July 2006. I said I was going to do it. November 2006, I got into Dover Harbour in November. Now it's getting really cold in Dover Harbour, and I was in there for about 15 minutes. But the coldest I've ever been, and still to this day the coldest I've ever been, is I decided on December the 26th, 2006, to do this swim from a place called Felixstowe Beach to a pier, which on Google Earth looked about that far. But and I was actually a councillor then, as in I was the mayor's consort then, because my wife was the mayor. And so we got down there, and all the press were there, and the public were on the beach, and the big radio mast was there. And they put the mast up, and everyone was getting excited. And I said hello to everyone, and I walked down, and I looked at where this pier was, and I went, oh my God, how far is that? This was
just a little further.
Yes, it was bigger than this. It was much bigger than this, and it was December the 26th. This was, and not forgetting, we don't wear wetsuits. We wear a pair of Speedos, hat, goggles. And I always wear earplugs because I don't like water in my ears, but that doesn't help with the temperature. And the whole idea of this Christmas Day swim was that people would run into the actual sea and then run out again. But I was going to get in and swim down to the pier.
And
so
keep going.
So everyone was assembled, and they said, "Come on, let's go." And they said, 3, 2, 1, get in. They all ran in. They went, and they all ran straight out again. And so, because I stepped into the water, and as I stepped in, I thought, wow, as up to my knees. I thought, that is so cold. That's so cold. And then when it goes above the speedos, well, I nearly died. It was just absolutely freezing. It was 5 degrees centigrade was the temperature of the water, just above freezing.
Wow.
And 5 degrees above freezing. And I eventually, I thought, I'm going to have to do this. I'm going to have to do this. And I got in up to my neck, and it just literally, about breathing, it took my breath away. It absolutely took my breath away. I have never experienced anything so cold. And I've got to do this. I've got to do it. So I got in, and I started to swim. And as I started to swim, I was thinking about hypothermia. And I'd read a book by an American lady called Lynn Cox, and she's done some phenomenal swims in her time. She wrote a book called Swimming to Antarctica. And that was the first book I read. And she mentioned that if hypothermia is setting in, what actually happens is your fingers start coming apart because your brain cannot communicate. It's not communicating, and that means hypothermia is starting to set in. So I started swimming. I was doing 1, 2, 3, and you look over there, and there's this huge oil tanker over there on the side, and 1, 2, 3, and there's all these people running across the beach there, going, yeah. And I thought, no, fingers are still together. And all the way down, I was thinking, and I started to get so cold in there, so cold. And I just kept thinking, no, my fingers are still together. I must be okay. I can do this. I can do this. And I kept going. And 35 minutes later, because the tide was coming this way and I was swimming against the tide, it was actually a mile swim. That's what it was, a mile. But at 5 degrees centigrade on December the 26th in a pair of Speedos, I touched the pier, and when I touched it, I went to get out, and as I got out, I was just like Indian rubber man, I was just floppy, and I couldn't coordinate anything. And as I got, I was shaking to the core, and everyone came running down. They were talking to me, and it just took my mind off everything. And I did it. And a guy who'd already swum the channel before said to me, "If you can do that, you can swim the channel." And so that was key to the training. So that was part of the big training sessions. Yeah.
That's actually interesting. Go ahead.
No, you carry on. Yeah.
I was just going to tell you just a little tiny story. So this is how wimpy I am, and those of us who do Ironmans. So I did an Ironman in Arizona, and the water temperature was 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is close to your 15 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
And we wore thick wetsuits, long sleeves, long pants. We were still cold. And what I did to actually get through that is I took scalding water, poured it down my wetsuit beforehand I even jumped in. I was going to recommend that to you, but you can't even do that. I mean, if you put down your Speedo, it's not going to really do much.
No, I certainly wouldn't put scalding water down the front of my Speedos.
That might hurt the progress.
Yeah, but so I kept doing this. When I say we, I'll say we all the time, because Becky, my wife, came with me all the time, and without her I would not have been able to do it. There's a team. It was a real team effort, and we kept going, and eventually we got to May, and I met someone. They said, you need to be in Dover in the first weekend in May, where you will be trained by experienced channel swimmers. And there's this awesome lady I met called Frida Streeter, and she was known as the Channel General. So we called her the General, and she was always known as the General. And you did not mess with her. She was 70 years of age, and you did not mess with this lady, honestly. She said, like, right, you, what's your name? And people used to call me Hoffy. So they said, right, Hoffy, said, what's your swimming like? Well, go and show me. So you got in, she goes, right. She goes, get in there now and do an hour. And if you came back at 50 minutes or 55 minutes, she said, I thought I told you an hour. I said, well, it's nearly an hour. She said, get back out there again, you know. Yeah, this lady was just, she was phenomenal, you know, and you just didn't mess with her. She was great. And so we started off with like an hour, and eventually within about 4 weeks, we were doing backwards and forwards across Dover Harbour. And it was about, by then, it was about 11 degrees centigrade in a pair of Speedos for 7 hours.
Wow.
7 hours. So we had to swim backwards and forwards for 7 hours. And if you came in at 6:58, she'd make you do 8 hours, you know. So she said, you won't get out of the channel if you're 2 minutes from France, will you? No. So when I say 7 hours, I mean 7 hours, and that's how she was. You know, so it was great fun. Yeah.
So now with long distance running, you have aid stations. Now I feel like we're really wimpy. What do you do for hydration and fuel when you're swimming for 7 hours?
Okay, so what you did the first time, you actually say, she said to you for 2 hours and then come in for a feed. And so we used to swim across to Dover Harbour, back again, and in, and that was just about 2 hours. And then you literally swim in, and Becky became one of the beach crew. There's about 10 of them on there feeding you a really high carbohydrate, horrible drink, which is just lukewarm, which when you've been in there just for 2 hours, feels really hot, really hot.
Yeah.
And you drink it and you go, woo, it's like Popeye having his spinach. You know, it just really fires you up, and off you go again. So you do 2 hours, then 1 hour, then 1 hour, then 1 hour, 1 hour, and then then eventually it's 7 hours you come in. So first one is 2 hours, and then every hour, and it's literally that a little bit of water, and that's what we had. Yeah.
Wow. And then how often did you do this?
So
weekly?
I was doing roundabout in the swimming pool and in the sea. So I was training every single day during the week in the swimming pool. And that was I had 1 day off, which was a Thursday. I didn't used to go on a Thursday, so you just have 1 day to give the body a rest. So every single day in the swimming pool. Friday night we used to travel down to Dover, 7 hours Saturday in Dover Harbour, and then this is the crux of it. When you can hardly walk, and you go back to your room, have a sleep, have a shower, something to eat. You get up next morning and you're like, you know, or everything's creaking and you can't move. 6 hours on Sunday. So on a Saturday, 7 hours, 6 hours on Sunday. And that's what she called a split channel swim. So in effect, you've done 13 hours separated by a night of training. And so you do that every weekend until your swim. So I was doing about 60,000 meters a week swimming. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what time of the year did you do your swim?
Yeah. So we were given a tide. There's neap tides and spring tides, and the year before, that's the very first thing you do is you book your tide, and the pilot says, okay, you're number 3 on the week beginning July the 7th, 2007. And I said, what does that mean, number 3? That means there's 2 ahead of you. So I will take this one guy, hopefully on the 7th, someone else on the 8th. 8th, 9th, and 10th. It was something 8th, 9th, and 10th. So hopefully you'll be the 10th. And very rarely does that ever happen, because the 8th might be a bad day, so you move back a day, and you move back a day, and so he always goes first, someone goes second, and someone goes third, because you're the only person swimming with that pilot who takes you across. And as it happened, ours was spot on. He went on the 8th, 9th, and then we set off at 5:30 in the morning from a place called Samphire Hoe, which is right next to Dover, and I set off for France on July the 10th. Yeah.
That's incredible. So you have this pilot who's in a boat in front of you, and you just follow it all the way across.
Yeah, ideally you're beside it rather than in front of it, because they like to they like you to swim beside, and they're up there, they're looking down at you, because they can see from your back whether you're cold, whether you're suffering from hypothermia. They're experienced to see if you're suffering, even if you don't know it yourself. They can see whether you urinate. You have to urinate in the water as you're swimming, and they can see the colour of your skin whether you have or not. And they can, have you urinated? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. And you carry on. So, and it's quite a bizarre thing, because as you first get in, the water grabs hold of you and takes you out, and you can
Oh,
feel it as you're. It's beautiful feel. I can still feel
oh,
it in my mind now as you're swimming,
yeah.
and also it lifts you up again, and it takes you out, and you can feel it as you're swimming along there, and after about 7 hours, you get into the middle of the channel, and it's like a big American. You call them. Free, like we call them motorways. You call them freeways. And you like a dual
Yep,
carriageway.
freeway.
Cars
Yeah.
this way, the other that way. You have
Yeah.
the same in the channel, and it's right behind it. You can actually see it here. You see this blue line here.
A little bit. Yeah, we can.
Ships go this way here, and the ships go
Okay.
that way here. So they're going backwards and forwards there, and you have to swim, but in the busiest shipping lane in the world. 600 tankers a day go through this shipping lane, and also you have the Dover to Calais ferries going backwards and forwards at a slight angle, and the pilot boat's job is to guide you through all these.
Oh my gosh!
You don't worry about it. You just swim. You just swim. Yeah, and then eventually you come into the French inshore waters, which is on this one here. This is here. These are the French inshore. This is France. And that's what they call the graveyard of channel swimmers, because if you're not in that little spot within about 10 to 12 hours, if you're not there in that time, the tide changes, and you just have to swim and swim and swim and go sideways for 6 hours until the tide changes to take you in again. So if you're there in sort of like 14 hours. Too late. You've got another 6 hour swim to go because all you're doing is you just swim and you're just literally going sideways. Yeah.
Wow. So it's either 14 or 20 hours.
Yeah, basically.
My gosh.
But eventually, I landed there in 13 hours 52 minutes, and I walked up on this French beach, and it was the most incredible feeling I've ever had in my life. I can still feel now. This finger on my left hand, as it came in, this finger hit sand on the bottom, and I put my feet down, and I thought, oh my God, and I walked to shore, and I was just about to cry with delight and happiness, because I'd set this goal when I was 17 to do this, and all these French people came running down and saying, oh, click, 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 Paul, and I was just completely blown away by what's going on. I wish I knew who they were, because they took loads of photographs.
Oh, you're like, wait. Nowadays, you'll be like, excuse me, can you airdrop them to me to my phone?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
that is
an
really
amazing
wonderful
experience. Yeah.
And then did you, during that 13 hours and change, did you take periodic stops to eat? And then what did you do about sun exposure?
So the first thing you do before you get in is you don't put grease on or anything, but what you do is you put Vaseline under each armpit, and you put it between your legs, and if you're a man, this is very specific to men. This one, you put it on here. Here, this is like Vaseline, and here and here. Do you have any idea why?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's because your beard grows in the channel. Your beard grows.
I would expect that.
And then as you swim, and the
you're going to scrape it.
Your beard scrapes it, and I have experienced all the blood pouring down my shoulders on there. So you have a bit of grease, and you put suntan lotion, factor 50 all over your back. But to eat, all you do exactly the same as in training. Becky, my wife, was on the boat. Pole goes over the side, and there's a little plastic cup on a piece of string, and you grab hold of it, and it's very glamorous. It's very
I can see that.
and sometimes the sea lands in it as it comes over the top, and you have to drink this stuff. And yes, that much, and in an ideal world, it's as quick as possible. So it's like this: grab, and you just carry on. If you touch the boat, finished.
My gosh!
Yeah, you can't get out. You can't. You can't get out for rest or anything. If you just touch the boat with one finger, you're
Wow.
finished. Yes. So there's strict
Dang.
rules, yeah, to saying you
Yeah.
swim the channel, you know. So
That's
yeah.
incredible. Wow. Oh, I love hearing this. This is wonderful. So now, at what point did you start having some health issues?
Okay. So as I said earlier, what actually happened was I was eating lots and lots of steak, and I'd always had every Saturday night. My mum always used to do steak, and I thought I had what everyone knows as a healthy diet. I ate my vegetables and my greens, and I ate cabbage and things like that, and I had brown bread with butter on, and all this stuff. But what actually started happening was, because I was trying to put all this weight on, and I was eating quite a bit of steak, I started to have lots of nosebleeds. I'd just be walking down the street and I was getting nosebleeds occurring. But in particular, I was getting blood coming out of my backside, as we say here in the UK. And so I went to the doctors, can't see anything wrong, time and time again. Went there, went to hospital, had cameras put where you don't want cameras put. No, can't see anything wrong, no, nothing like that. But still, nosebleeds and blood all the time. And this carried on, and in 2008, I decided to swim the channel again, which I did, because you get a bit depressed after having done it the first time, and you've achieved a goal, and that's another story in itself. But I started to swim again, and I also, because of all the training I was doing, I managed to swim for Great Britain 2 times, once in Serbia, once in Mexico, and it's on what's called Open Waterpedia that I'm the oldest person to have ever represented Great Britain.
Oh, that's awesome.
Swimming, because of all that training I did. And but still, all this time, I kept getting blood coming out, and it was worrying, as to know what it is. So in 2008, late 2008, after 23 years in IT and engineering and everything, I said to Becky, I said, come on, I said, let's start Body and Mind Studio, because I had Herbalife in my mind for the body, and massage for the body, and I had the mind. I had Larry Thompson's Millionaire Training Shapes, Jim Rohn, all these people, and I thought I'll do a speech. I'll start doing talks on Swimming the Channel and everything. So we formed Body and Mind Studio, and as part of that, I did a diet and nutrition diploma. And this is the key to what I'm going to tell you about the whole thing today. At the end of the diet and nutrition diploma, there's this guy called Chris, and he was really good. And he said to us, well done for passing. And he said to me, why don't you come back and do our blood type diet diploma? And I said, yeah. I said, what's that then? And he said to me, I'll never forget this. He said to me, what blood type are you? And most people in the UK don't know what blood type they are. I think a lot of Americans seem to know, but in the UK, they don't know at all. And because I gave blood on a regular basis, I knew I was a blood type. I was A positive. And he said to me, what blood type are you? And I said, I'm a type A. And he said to me, he said, type A, shouldn't eat red meat, makes you very susceptible to colon cancer. And it was like someone had just punched me in the face. I was rigid, and I stood there. I went, really? And he said, yeah. He said, red meat, type A, can't digest red meat. And it was just like, no one had ever told me that before. No one had ever told me that before. And I said, why can't we? He said, do the diploma. So I did the blood type diet diploma. But from that day to this, which is now 10.5 years ago, I've never eaten red meat. I've never had blood come out of my backside, and I have not had a nosebleed. But that was even, when he told me to come and do it, I stopped straight away, because if someone's telling me that, and the doctors don't know what's wrong, I thought, well, I'll try this. So it was instant. It was instant. It just didn't happen again. So yeah. So I just think that's phenomenal to actually hear that.
Yeah.
And I went on the blood type diet, and then eventually, we probably haven't got time to discuss all that today, but there's a genotype diet and precision medicine, and it's all evolved from blood type diet. But do you want me to tell you sort of the fundamentals of how it works?
Yeah, let's go into that. We definitely have time to go into it, because So did you do that extra course in the blood type diet that he said you should do?
Yeah, I did it, and then to understand it, I said that the blood type diet theory was developed by Dr. Peter D'Adamo, and he's professor of generative medicine at the University of Bridgeport in America, and his father. And they did some pioneering work in the 60s and 70s, and the research found that the main problematic factor was something called lectins. So lectins is the most important part of what we're talking about today here. And so lectins are actually abundant and diverse carbohydrate bonding proteins found in foods and nutritional supplements. And thousands of foods and people have been tested, and it's been noted which foods raise toxic byproduct of lectin reactions. So lectins have agglutinating properties which affect your blood and the lining of your digestive tract, which is the fundamental area we need to concentrate on for optimum health and well-being.
Yeah.
So, Dr. D'Adamo, the research found that lectins interact with the cells in your body depending on your blood type. So, which explain why some nutrients which are beneficial to one blood type may be harmful to the cells of another blood type. So that's just fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, and we know that, and we've heard from like Dr. Gundry. He talks about lectins all the time, and I know tomatoes are one of the main concerns that he's always talking about. Plants in the nightshade family.
For type A, very much so.
And it's for type A people. Okay.
Yeah. But I say lectins can be very bad, and I always use the story when I first tell people about this. Is that in 1978, Georgy Markov was assassinated on a London street via a micro-engineered pellet containing ricin, which was fired into his leg from an umbrella. And so ricin is a lectin produced in the seeds of a castor oil plant. That's what it is, it's castor oil. And it's a highly potent toxin. So he was basically injected with food, a lectin, which agglutinated or solidified his blood, and it killed him like that. So and so this is what the wrong food for your blood type does. It agglutinates your blood on there. So that's the fundamental basis of it. So when someone says, well, why can't I eat tomatoes? So yes, language barrier. Language different.
It's okay. I like the way you sound. The way you sound better, anyway.
but I mean, tomatoes and bananas for type A are almost top of the list with red meat as to avoid. There's a bit more to it than that. There's something called a secretor status, which you probably haven't got time to discuss today. But every time people say, well, why can't I eat that? And I said, lectins. Can I eat that then? I said, yeah, the lectins are good in that one. Can I eat this one? No. Why not? Lectins. Yeah, it's always lectins. That food. I mentioned to you earlier about cabbage. Cabbage is it's very, very food specific, individual food. When people say eat all your vegetables, they're good for you, I shudder. I shudder because like broccoli for me, very good. I'm a type A, A positive. So broccoli for me, very good. Cabbage for me, no good. Peas for me, they're good. Yeah, so it's very specific. Each individual food has these lectins which agglutinate your blood or not. So I had a lady on the phone yesterday said to me, she said, oh, I like she's a blood type O, potatoes really bad for blood type O. And she said to me, is it okay if I have some every now and again? And I said, well, I always say it like this. I said, if, for instance, you're particularly partial to a nice glass of cyanide once a month, and you say to me, is it okay if I have one once a month? What do you think I'm going to say to you? She said, really? And I said, yeah. I said, you should not eat potatoes, period. Yeah. She said, it's that serious? And I said, yeah, it's that serious. And like that. And she said, wow, that's what I've been doing wrong all these years. Because she said, I tried the blood type diet and for 3 weeks, and it didn't really work for me. I said, no. This is not something you try for 3 weeks. Once you understand it, this is what you do for the rest of your life. Yeah. The rest of your life, because you're not going to be a blood type O this week and then 3 weeks time, you're not blood type O anymore, you know.
Right.
You know,
I don't think they have those full body blood and transfusions yet. Change your genes at it too.
Yeah, but it's really interesting. Another thing I always say to people is I realized as a kid this, but I never sort of took up on it because it was always like, you know, do this because it's good for you, don't do this because it's bad for you. But I love the Olympics, love the Olympic Games, and in particular, I love the men's 100 meters sprint final, and I love the men's 100 meters freestyle because I was a 100 meters freestyle swimmer, and I used to watch the men's 100 meters freestyle, and I noticed at the time something about all the men and all the women who lined up on the starting blocks in both the men's and the ladies' 100 meters freestyle final. Can you think what that might be? No, that's okay. I just wonder. They're all white. They're all white.
Really?
Yeah. And then if you look at the men's and the women's 100 meters athletics final, what color are they?
I would imagine all colors.
They're all black.
Wow.
They're all big black muscly men and quite black muscly women. When you see a woman. When you see a long distance runner in the Olympics or marathon runners, what do they look like? They're all very skinny, long and thin type people, even if they're black or white. So I noticed this, and it's not something I picked up on it subconsciously, never thought about it, but that is specific. So to your blood type. So you will find blood type O's are the original blood type, the caveman hunter type, as Dr. Diadamo calls them, earliest originating origin. They used to run from Africa to gather and eat red meat. So blood type O's are the hunter-gatherer types who eat red meat. And their body thrives on red meat. Their whole digestive system thrives on red meat. They will lose weight if they eat red meat. And if you can't have a vegan blood type O, it will be detrimental to your health. And the opposite for blood type A is they can be vegan, they should be vegan, they can be vegetarian, but they can have fish as well. You know, fish is very good for most blood type A, but not every single fish on there. So but it's very specific. Your personality, what you should and shouldn't eat, and the sports you do are related to your blood type.
It all matches up. Now, what about B? Are they more the hunter-gatherers or more the vegetarian, vegans?
Well, blood type B. There's only about 8% of the world population of blood type B. I think you said to me you're a blood type B, aren't you?
I am. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you are. Yeah. Blood type B. B is for balance. Yeah, Dr. Diadamo calls it balance, ever changing. You have a strong immune system. Flexible digestive system, but I'll tell you a story about blood type B. In one of my sort of local civic roles, I was an honorary commander for the US Air Force over here in Mildenhall, and my commander was a blood type B. And the very first time I met him, he said to me, what do you do? And I told him, and he said, wow, that's very interesting. And him and his wife, both blood type Bs. And he said, well, just very briefly, he said, what should I shouldn't do? I said, well, very briefly, generically, blood type B shouldn't drink coffee, shouldn't eat chicken. He said, wow, really? I said, yeah. He said, coffee and chicken. I said, yeah. And I told him a little bit about lectins. And we carried on doing whatever we were doing, this function. And about 3 months later, I went over to him, and he grabbed me by the arm. He said, Paul, come over here. I said, what? He said, you have changed my life. I said, what do you mean change your life? I thought, I haven't done anything. What are you talking about? He said, type B thing that you told me about. I said, oh, no. I thought, oh, right, yeah. Because it was just a passing conversation, you know. And he said, I have been having some problems. He said, and I stopped eating chicken and coffee like you told me to. I said, well, I didn't actually tell you to. I was just, it was just like a conversation. He said, no. He said, but I did it. And he said, and I felt so good. He said, I felt so good. And he said, so good that I started eating chicken and coffee again just to make sure that this was true. And he said, and I felt bad. And he said, and I stopped again, and I feel good again. He said,
That's
and my
awesome.
wife is the same. He said, and I said, well, there's a lot more to it than that. He said, yeah, but just chicken and coffee, you know, I feel so good. He said, it's unbelievable. So yeah, a little story on blood type B. Yeah. Do you want
That's
an
funny.
AB
What's that?
You want an AB, blood type AB, the least.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's that?
Yeah. I had a lady, because I did clinical massage. Well, I don't do it anymore, so I haven't got time. But I did clinical massage. I had a lady come in, very very pretty girl, 24, probably 100 odd pounds overweight, and she had problems, bad back. And so I said to her, you know, do you think perhaps you might want to look at your nutrition? You know, she said, oh no, I've got to get this back sorted first. And I said, well, possibly if you looked at your nutrition, it might help your back pain on there. She said, oh no. So anyway, so I treated her, and I said, what do you generally eat on a daily basis? She said, oh, chicken salad. And I looked at her and I thought, blood type AB. And she said, what, why? And I said, do you know what blood type you are? She said, no. And I told her that the lectins in blood type A, the lectins in chicken for blood type AB, you will put on weight.
Wow.
No. She said, no. I said, I just got a feeling you're blood type AB. So I took a blood sample, because we do blood samples. I ship them all over the world, these blood testing kits, and people have them. And she came back blood type AB. She was just blown away. She could not believe that she was trying to lose weight, chicken salad, and she was getting bigger and bigger because of her blood type. Yeah. So
that's fascinating. So now, what about the positive or negative parts of blood type? Does that matter?
That doesn't matter with your food. So we test for your ABO blood type. So you can be an A, a B, an AB or an O, and your Rhesus positive or negative. And then we also test for your secretor status, and that is a huge part of it. That's why I said it's not all completely down to your blood type. It's due to your secretor status and your MN blood group. So you can be a secretor or non-secretor, and MN, NN, or MM in your blood type. So if you take me, I'm actually an A2, Rhesus positive, non-secretor, MN. And so there's five blood types on there. Where that is particularly useful is when we calculate your genotype, which is sort of where the blood type diet moved onto your genotype diet. So what they found in the early 2000s is that everyone thought you were born with the genes you were born with, and you can't do anything about it. But you can turn, what they found is you can turn off the bad genes and on the good genes with the right food for your blood type and your right genotype diet. So we use all of those to determine your genotype, along with fingerprints, leg measurements, arm measurements, taste that we taste, do a taste on your tongue. Lots of different tests we do to calculate your genotype on there. So in answer to your question, the Rhesus, it doesn't affect the food you eat on the blood type diet, but it's used to calculate part of your genotype on there. Yeah.
And so it sounds like from when you do the genotype assessment, that gives you more information to really narrow down the foods that you should eat or shouldn't eat.
Yeah.
And so I imagine after someone works with you, then you can give them, say, hey, okay, these 5 things that came back for your blood type and all the components of it, here's a list of good stuff for you, stuff to avoid, and then you give them that and they can go from there. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have a piece of software written by Dr. Diadamo where we it's a web-based application. You just buy a license, and I'm working with a lady at the moment. Yeah, she's 70, and she was the one I said she was ex blood type diet. Now she wants to look at it properly. So this is a once in a lifetime thing. You calculate your genotype, and so we enter all that information, including, and what's so good about the Swami software is we include, starting with you, any siblings, history of a certain amount of illnesses, your parents, mother and father, and then on your father's side, their mother and father, and on your mother's side, their mother and father. And we're looking for things like arthritis, heart disease, cancers, a whole range of illnesses. We're looking at those, and actually, when it calculates your genotype and takes that in consideration, it prints out a list of foods you should and shouldn't eat, bearing in mind the information you've entered about these family history of illnesses. And what we're looking at is 2 of each. So if, for instance, a sibling and a grandparent had 2, back here, one side of one up there had cancer, that's 2 instances in there. So Swami will actually calculate and actually say, like, you need to take cancer prevention protocols as part of this, because you've had 2 instances. It doesn't matter if it's 6 or whatever, but 2 is the key, either sideways or back upwards, And it prints out about 50 odd pages, including the exercise you should take. As I just said, I mean, for me, things like 100-meter sprinting, athletics, no good for type A. That's exactly that's what I noticed as a kid in the Olympics. All those guys standing on the 100 meters final at the Olympics are probably blood type O. They're big, muscly guys. I was never ever going to look like that. I was more of a swimmer's triangle with sort of toned muscles. We're never going to be this big, bulky guy, because that's not a blood type A. It's a blood type O who looks like that. Generally speaking.
That's fascinating. Oh, it's truly neat. And so you work with people to help them with this through the genotype dieting and assessment, and then you give them recommendations, and then is there a follow-up? Because I know obviously things like this don't change, but do people follow up with you afterwards?
They do sometimes, but in particular, or Dr. Diadamo, we have blood type specific supplements. So we have vitamins and minerals for type A, O, AB, and B, and the polyflora, the probiotics for type O, AB, and B, and so they're all very much blood type specific on there. So generally speaking, once people go on to Swami with us and they've got all their food supplements, the important thing is to reduce the lectin intake and to line your digestive system. So Deflect A deflects the lectins in bad food for blood type A. Deflect O does it for type O. Deflect B does it for type B. And so each one of those deflect is actually deflecting the lectins away for the specific blood type on that. And what that does is it actually changes your fingerprint.
Really?
So the reason we take fingerprints is we're looking for white lines in your fingerprint. So when you take a fingerprint, you can see the fingerprint, but when you have these little white lines through them, that means you have digestive system damage or lectin damage in there. So the lectins, the deflects, over a period of like 8, 9, 10 months, change what your fingerprints. They remove the white lines because you're reducing your lectin intake. Wow. So it's astonishing. It took 10 months. I was covered in white lines on here, and then after 10 months, none.
All gone. That's neat. I've never heard of that before, because I have to say, I think I've seen those white lines before. That's fascinating.
That's lectin damage in the digestive system. So
Wow. So now I know you're also still with Herbalife, right? So that's a separate thing, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I started this whole journey with Herbalife. The whole thing started there, and I thank Mark Hughes, Larry Thompson, Jim Rohn for everything they taught me on there. And if people phone me up and said, "Oh, I'm feeling a bit down. I need some supplements. You do Herbalife? Can I have some Herbalife supplements?" Then I sort of switch hats. I say, "Yeah, that's fine," and they can have the Herbalife supplements because they've asked me for that. So I'm not going to suddenly push a different philosophy on them. They've rung up for supplements. So I'll sell them a shake and some supplements. We follow up with them on that. But if things then start saying, they say, "Oh, yeah, I've got this problem, that problem, the other problem," I'll say to them, "Well, what's your blood type?" "I don't know." And why are you asking? And I said, "Well, let me tell you about this." And then it sort of leads into it. But I never push blood typing onto someone if they're not ready for it. This stuff, blows people away. It really,
Yeah.
really doesn't. People say, "Oh, I don't believe that." And I was, well, look at my story. Look at my story. You know, when Chris said to me, blood type A, shouldn't eat red meat, very susceptible to colon cancer, it just blew me away. You know, I just could not believe he said that to me, but it made sense. It made sense. And the blood type A have a very low stomach acid. That's why we can't digest red meat. And so blood type A can only pass the red meat into the digestive system, and it sits in there and festers because it's trying to break down in your digestive system. And so it's got nowhere to go until it comes out and it festers, and it's causing problems on there. Blood type O, you know, as soon as you put the food in your mouth and the salivary amylase fires down to your stomach and fires those acids up, there's loads of acids in there. And it's like, okay, red meat, come on down, and then poof, and it's gone. You know, that's how it just disappears on there. But type A, we go, oh no, get out, and it sort of slowly pushes it out, you know, without digesting it. You know, so it's it's amazing stuff.
That's fascinating. So how do people learn more about this? Like, how can they reach out to you? Go to a website? Where can they learn more?
Yeah, I mean, our website is body and A&D, so it's bodyandmindstudio.co.uk, bodyandmindstudio.co.uk. And we've got a whole range of supplements on there, but under the diet and nutrition section, it's called Diadamo Personalized Nutrition. So D''A''ADAMO, Diadamo Personalized Nutrition. So all the supplements on there, blood tests are on there, Swami's on there, which is the everything's under there. Yeah. Or you can send me an email to Paul at bodyandmindstudio.co.uk. You can send me
that way they can reach out to you if they want to talk to you about swimming as well.
Yeah. People still ring up about swimming, you know, so can you tell me about the channel? Yeah.
Well, it's great. I mean, not many people have done what you've done, and it takes a lot of dedication and just the right circumstances, and you've done it multiple times. So people look up to that, and you can be a great resource, not only for swimming, but also for blood type diet, supplements, all of that. It's amazing, your background.
Yeah. I haven't done an Ironman though, Amy. So but again, I don't think for my blood type that's right for me. Yeah, Tai Chi and yoga is good for type A.
Oh, okay. We have to do some breathing too. Calm me down. Those types of things too. Gotta get you into all that.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So any last advice you would recommend to people?
I think the biggest thing, and it really gets me, is when people say, eat this, it's good for you. And you say, well, you don't know who I am. Like that. All the foods are designed for the human race, but we're all different. Every single person is different. You know, so when you go to the supermarket and they say you got your potato, what do you call them? Crisps. We call them crisp chips. I think you call them. They have crisps.
Potato
and
chips.
your biscuits, and you got this. You got all these different foods on there. I go in there. I think, no, that's not good. That's not good. And you know, don't ever now, from this day forward, don't ever think, eat this, it's good for you, because everyone is an individual. You know, and people have been asking me about the COVID. Yeah, what do you do for COVID? And you have to say, well, I don't know anything about you. You can't help someone supplement or anything, or any food or any supplement. You can't specifically help them unless you know their blood type. You know, so that's it's fundamental. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I really appreciate this amazing story, just your whole journey and diving into this. And it's great because once you found a problem, you worked really hard to find a solution, and you explored all of your options. You went the traditional medical route, saw the physicians, and then you started on this diet journey, and you were able to find a solution for you. And now you're helping other people out. So really commend you on that. Absolutely wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys all for joining us today. Thank you, Paul, so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. And please reach out to Paul. He is a wealth of information, very personable, easy to talk to. I always am laughing and smiling when I talk to him. So thank you again, Paul, and we'll see you guys
Yeah,
all next week.
yeah, great. Thanks, Amy.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.